said a hip hop, the hip it to the hip hop. You don't stop the rocker to the bang bang boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Now what you hear is not a test. I'm rapping to the beat, and me, the groove, and my friends are gonna try to move your feet. You see, I am Wonder Mike, and I like to say hello to the black, to the white, the red, and the brown, and the purple, and yellow. But first, I gotta bang, bang, the boogie to the boogie. Say up, jump the boogie to the bang, bang, boogie. Let's rock. You don't stop, rock the rhythm that'll make your body rock. Well, so far you've heard my voice, but I brought two friends along. And next on the mic is my man Hank. Come on, Hank, sing that song.
Check it out, I'm the CASN, the OVA, and the rest is FLY. You see, I go by the code of the doctor of the mix, and these reasons I'll tell you why. You see, I'm 6'1", and I'm tons of fun, and I dress to a T. You see, I got more clothes than Muhammad Ali, and I dress so viciously. I got bodyguards, I got two big guards that definitely ain't the whack. I got a Lincoln Continental and a sunroof Cadillac. So after school, I take a dip in the pool, which is really on the wall. I got a color TV so I can see the Knicks play basketball. Hear me talking about checkbook, cause it costs more money than a sucker could ever spend. But I wouldn't give a sucker or a punk from the rock and not a dime till I made it again. Everybody go, hotel, motel, what you gonna do today? Is I'm gonna get a fly girl, gonna get some spank and drive off in a death OJ. Everybody go, hotel, motel, holiday inn. You see, if your girl starts acting up, then you take her friend. I'm Master G, my mellow is on you, so what you gonna do?
Well, it's on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I said a M-A-S, a T-E-R, a G with a double E. I said I go by the unforgettable name of the man they call a Master G. Well, my name is known all over the world by all the foxy ladies and the pretty girls. I'm going down in history as the baddest rapper that ever could be. Now I'm feeling the highs and you're feeling the lows. The beat starts getting into your toe. You start popping your fingers and stomping your feet and moving your body while you're sitting and you're sitting. Then damn, you start doing the freak. I said bam, right out of your seat. Then you throw your hands high in the air. You rock it to the rhythm, shake your dairy air. You rock it to the beat without a care. Cruise the short shot MCs for the affair. Now I'm not as tall as the rest of the gang, but I rap to the beat just the same. I got a little face and a pair of rhyme eyes. All I'm here to do, ladies, is hypnotize. Sing it on and on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I sing it on and on and on and on and on like a hot butter. The pop, the pop, the pop, give it, pop, the pop, pop. You don't dare stop or come alive, y'all. Give me what you got. I guess by now you can take a hunch and find that I am the baby of the bunch, but that's okay. I still keep in stride, cause all I'm here to do is just a wiggle your behind. Sing it on and on and on and on. The beat don't stop until the break of dawn. I sing it on and on and on and on and on. Rock, y'all. Throw it on the floor. I'm gonna freak you here, I'm gonna freak you there. I'm gonna move you out of this atmosphere, cause I'm one of a kind and I'll shock your mind. I put the jiggles in your behind. I say the 1, 2, 3, 4, come on, girls, get it on the floor. Come alive, y'all, give me what you got, cause I'm guaranteed to make you rock. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, tell me Wonder Mike, what are you waiting for?
To the hip hop, the hippie to the hippie, the hip hop, you don't stop, rock it to the bang bang, the boogie. Say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Well, skittle bebop, we rock a Scooby Doo. Well, guess what, America, we love you, cause you rock in a row with us so much so you can rock till you're 101 years old. I don't mean to brag, I don't mean to boast, but we're like hot butter on a breakfast toast. Rock it out, a baby bubba to the boogie, to bang bang, the boogie to the beat. Beat is so unique. Come on, everybody, and dance to the beat.
Hey everybody, let's get this going. The original Sugar Hill Gang. Let's let them riff. This is party rap. So, gonna get in a few things. Let me get this together. As always. What do you guys think of that?
Love it. That's right, Sugar Hill pattern. Love it. It takes me way back, folks. Cardboard, breakdancing, none of which I was able to do, but very fun to watch. So let's get it going. All right. Thank you, boys. It was nice, very nice. Let's get it. Okay. Couple things really to start off. Kickoff Friday. Welcome everybody. And it's casual Friday afternoon, and a couple of things we do need to get to. And let's absolutely talk about what we're looking at right now. I popped up NASDAQ and want to really kind of get into, is the market going to pull back here? I don't think so. Not huge, but I've been looking for the reaction. And so that's why we should really get into it today. With NASDAQ, doing what it's doing right now, currently dropping pretty mad. Where are we at now? Well, let me pull up where's my platform? Let me pull up TradeStation here. Minus 225. Here's the reflector, folks. Oh, I don't want to flash my account number. Oh, that's all right. I think minus 225 at the low of the session there. There's the reflector. Should we just sell? Could we just sell? No, of course not. We never do that. But we've been strategizing for these positions and for this breakdown under 365, 365 as a critical level. And that's really what we need to look at in comparison to the rest of the market. S&P's been real strong. The Dow was holding up pretty well. But NASDAQ had a couple things that I've been looking at for a while that, now we got down here. And the other thing about this, we're talking, this is a 2-hour pattern. 2-hour chart. This is on a 2-hour or 4-hour. There's just a number of levels on NQ at this 365 level. We did the type 1, type 2, and let me isolate this. I think it's better just to look at the last pattern. But this has been, for the better part of 2 weeks now, we've been wrestling this. We finished the top, came off the top, and basically generated this deep crab pattern. Really started to form it last week, and then went through our 1-2 sequence. And I'll get to the other, the SQQQ, which is the way that we've been playing this on a slightly longer term level, and what is there. I think the futures have been holding themselves up. Maybe Jerome Powell went on a vacation today. Don't know. But they're not buying it. They're going to let it slide. And this is probably the first breakdown of a bearish pattern that we've seen in quite some time. And let's trace out really the 1-2 framework that I outlined last week of there was our reaction on the deep crab, and then we came back down to the hop level. Now it was pretty volatile, pretty whipsaw movement, and we really started talking about getting into the SQQQ, which is the bearish ETF. I'll go over there in a second. At this reaction point where we knew this return would take shape, and what I was anticipating was a failure. We had no HSI confirmation. We had no confirmation whatsoever. And so there was a lot of signs there for me that was saying this is a potential failure well in advance, and there's probably things I did not mention that I really should, could have gone into further detail. Just, a lot here to consider, but certainly some things that I've been looking at that just simply were, warning signs saying that this has probably got some work to do. And we came back finally on the secondary test with confirmation, which is what basically supported this market for the last 2 days. Now we're breaking down new lows, which is really nice for the bearish side of being bearish. Being bearish, it's not a double negative. That's just bearish being bearish. So go to the 4-hour chart. That's your breakdown point. And here's the other thing that I flashed up. The only available immediate pattern is this, what I like to call a looping retest. You get a big move up, and you come all the way back down. And that puts you around 14,900. Now trading under 15.3 for the day. And that's, from a pattern perspective, that gives a pretty nice target to shoot for. We needed to see that. We still do. Still need to see the close under 15,365. So a lot going on there. I think it just took a little bit longer than anticipated. So give a shout out to everybody. James, Marcus, Youssef, all you guys, JS, Michael, Mitch Ray in the chat. What's up, Mitch? Who let the bulls out? Yo, Song Siren, the rest of you guys, Anthony, welcome everybody. Ziggy, what's up? Just want to give a lot of people a shout out. People that came in. Just to let you folks know, I'm going to stream during the 1 o'clock hour. So subscribe to my channel, and we keep it really loose. And I go over some more advanced concepts, but all within harmonic pattern framework. And that's what I stick to. So definitely, just kind of want to throw that welcome out, and just know that if you don't see a notification from me until 1:30 or 2, don't be surprised. But that's just how it's going right now. But you guys, I'll be here Friday afternoons, and we've got a great group. So appreciate everyone for showing up. Gives me an opportunity also to kind of clarify some of the things I post, talk about in the gold member sessions, and I'll get to a few of those now. But for the immediate situation, what we have is, just that larger breakdown. But what we have been focused on, again, with the longer term daily time frame. Where'd that go? Let's go daily. Just recognizing how far this thing has moved. We've had a couple patterns. We're just showing the ABCD that was overextended, and I do think that has failed. Certainly flawed is a better way to look at that. But with this current move, I'm not surprised to see this come back, maybe retest the top side of that failed PRZ. This potential reversal zone has a bunch of numbers at around 14,775, as high as 15,013. And this was a big target for us earlier this summer. We were targeting that 15,000 area. And this is a spot where we come back nominally. Maybe retest this prior failed zone before we go again. And that's about it. I mean, it's just really, beyond that, the other things that we see here from the indicator perspective on the daily that we have mentioned before was the RSI condition. This is actually amplified RSI. And we note right here, that's an M formation. And we really started talking about this rolling out of the extreme several days ago, late last week for sure. And that has at least given us the harmonic pause. And so that's one of the reasons why I'll share with you something that I look at quite a bit, especially when you're really trending aggressively. and you get to an overbought extreme, it's tough because sometimes you can sit in that position and think, well, how far is this going to go? Is this just going to keep going on to 16, 17,000? How do you know? I always like to look at the structure of the indicator as it gets into the extreme. If it's overbought there or say oversold here, there's a lot of information you can glean from those structures. And basically it comes down to, do you have an M shape or W shape, or do you have kind of a V or N shape? This is indicative of the V shape. That's impulsive. Usually means that's just a brief retest, and once you come out of there, usually you look for kind of a continuation, really reactive. Versus your M formations here, these are complex formations where you go deep into the extreme, you take your time, and then you come down in a brief correction before you retest. We're doing that here, and we're probably just doing it a little bit more of a pause than, say, several weeks ago. So that actually is not, what we're looking for here is a reaction, and I'll get to the SQQQ in a second of why we're looking for a bearish reaction, but we've got this now, and we're coming down. Looks like, good shot to give us another oversold reading, and we'll ride this current short-term pullback into that oversold area. That's really from the larger perspective why we're looking at that. But here is the SQQQ. This is the triple ETF ultra short. There's several things going on here. One that we identified, there was this ABCD pattern, smaller one. Let me show you all the patterns that are going on that basically nail this $7 level as something we don't want to ignore. And then something I've been saying, well, instead of buying it, let's play calls. That's what I've been doing. Buying the 7.5s, buying 8s next week, and some Octobers. Looking for just a reaction, but it's a real nice spot. We come down. Here's your deep crab pattern, but no reaction. Pretty much a dud. It goes sideways for a number of days. But the thing that I've been highlighting in particular is the phenomenon of back-to-back patterns, especially when you have a smaller pattern completing at the low end of a larger pattern like this ABCD. Those are nice reinforced harmonic levels that when I started this and started introducing this idea, I was thinking, hey, 733, 730 area for a move back to 8 and change on something like this. Nobody's expecting this. I like it. And if we get something larger, okay, talking, a minimum move of 10%, 70 cents, maybe as much as $1. But if it really were to get going, we're either going to go target 2 off the ABCD, or in a rush, we go to target 1 on the deep crab. That's why this is reactive. And this is absolutely what is the thought process behind here. And I've been saying that we needed to see that breakdown in NASDAQ. So I'm really comparing that futures action versus this SQQQ play, which is so far so good. We definitely are picking up, we picked up those calls super cheap, and I'm still holding hundreds of those calls. And I want to see what happens when we get to $8. Now, I was not pleased with what was taking shape on NQ with this thing persisting in the zone. But we need to see how it shapes up into Monday, especially the close today. Let me go back there. Wait a minute. And that number at 14,365 is essential. Terribly essential for this to give you a larger breakdown. Hold on one second. Okay, thanks everybody. So let's, this is a longer term play that I've been mentioning to gold members that might take a few weeks, but I'm not looking for this to extend more than that. So we're certainly looking for the breakdown now with NQ, and we don't want to wait around on this if by Monday or Tuesday we see no follow through. SQQ is trading around 771 at the moment. So it is, it's got, looks like it's going to get out of the zone today, and we'd want to see that continue. Basically, get above 8 by Monday and give us a big kind of reactive rush. Let's go really quick to go back. Let me go up to here to S&P 500 because that's doing, a little bit better than NQ. Today's breakdown, not like we have any patterns, bearish patterns that preceded this on the daily. I'll go to that in a second, but here's what we're just kind of forming right now, that really sleek ABCD right off the top. Maybe we find some support around 44.15 on S&P, but again, we go to your daily time frames. I think that just shows you, where we are. Our amplified RSIs, some of that we have mentioned where it hit overbought readings about 2 weeks ago, almost down. It looks threatening, but it's almost ready to hit another impulsive leg. Come down and look at the last several times the touches, come very close to, and this is amplified RSI, so it's a lot more responsive. You're going to get more tests, but if we just follow the pattern of what these are doing, which is simple pullback, okay, simple pullback test and go again, probably the same thing. This is a little bit more stretched out, but not, this hasn't fallen apart. I'm not really too concerned about this other than kind of a brief correction. And if I didn't have the setup in the SQQQ like that, like I have, and possibly with this breakdown in NASDAQ, I probably would not even be considering the short side. I probably would be doing nothing. But in the meantime, okay, let's play it. Let's play that SQQQ because we've seen so many of those with great opportunities that hey, on the daily or the monthly even, they've been leading to monster moves really quick. Here is the SQQ. What's that? On the daily? Yeah, the daily is, again, both of those. But where we are on the weekly, this looks ridiculous. We are coming off of this oversold weekly reading. I don't expect much here. This is a type of ETF that it requires volatility, and it's based off the option, the front month of the option as well. Not to get too technical with it, but clearly you see this thing's just a dramatic downtrend as the market has moved higher and higher. But if we're going to get a little pullback, it's here, and a sharp reaction. That's how I'm playing it. That's just what's kind of come into, my view of looking at various, tech markets. And really quick, things like Microsoft, okay, they've done this. A lot of patterns. I've mentioned this before, where we came back and we did a first reaction, and these are weekly. A lot of them are daily as well, and they do the type 2 retest but keep going. At some point, there's going to have to be at least a nominal pullback, and we're starting to see that here on the weekly in amplified RSI. Look what's going on. We're out of the zone. Looks like we want to come back, retest, but if we roll over and we start to come down a little bit more, yeah, from a pattern perspective, we come back and retest that prior failed resistance. And that's probably 5-7% lower. So definitely we want to stay on top of this. This scenario of a sharp pullback would be ideal for that SQQQ reaction. And again, I think it's above 8. If it's 850 for SQQQ, that might be a great early target, and then we'll see from there. Again, I just think these kind of patterns that we have seen over and over again, where you have a big pattern and then you develop a smaller pattern, we do not want to ignore those. They are special situations. So speaking of patterns to patterns, I want to jump over to a few commodity style markets that have been ripping recently and now starting to pull back or set up again. Let's first go to the natural gas market because it's been a huge one, probably the market of the month. We've been in front of this from the beginning of the year. I think it was one of the first things I talked about of what this was shaping up to be all the way back here in January, February. And I have a lot of personal experience with this market. We've been looking for that larger move to $5. We got it as high as $5.60. So now what? Really clear pattern. And I think natural gas is showing you what is possible. We're probably peaked out at the moment where, look at our, here we go. Look at our amplified RSI again. I don't have HSI up today because I want to look at, just show you some of these situations where when they go past the pattern and they just keep running, at what point can we still get a signal where enough's enough? For natural gas, this last completion of, we had a retest here on that last thrust 2 days ago, registering almost 90 on amplified, and now we're out of the zone. So that's a great place for a pause. I mentioned this to the group on in our Thursday session for gold members, that maybe it's time to take a little off with Boyle. Boyle has been the ultra trust natural gas vehicle we have been favoring most of the year. 80 was our target. It hit 80 and change and pulled off. Now trading 67. For those that are still long, we talked about this yesterday. I still think this has a ways to go, but maybe take a little bit off. It's a situation where it's doubled, tripled. It's tripled since the bottom, and it's doubled in 6 weeks. So maybe we take a little off here, 10 or 20%, and let it come back down and look for another move in. I don't think this is even close to really wearing itself out yet. I think we've got a major natural gas crisis in this country and the world. I think we're in the midst of a major energy, crude oil complex resurgence, not to mention with other factors that are clearly unfolding. So the Boyle ETF is a great vehicle because it goes and will move when we've got extreme volatility, when you've got really a mad rush, which is what you have going on here. And it will move when that market moves. And the natural gas has moved about as much as it can move in any single week for sure. These 20-cent a day moves have been remarkable. And I just want to kind of just go off the last pivot point and say that this is now in play. Okay, we hit our original target. We really were looking for about 80. I mentioned that earlier of why that was. I'm not going to go into detail, but I just want to give the numbers and stick with the numbers that we want to look for. I think a minimum 382 eventual test off of the 2019 peak. And not to get into it too much, but 2019 there was a blow up of a natural gas hedge fund. These guys were caught way too short. Natural gas has been a dead market for almost 10 years, ever since it peaked out, but it's been dead certainly for 5 with minor exceptions like this big thrust that happened when there was a blow up of a major gas fund, got caught short, spot price of natural gas surged briefly, came back down. We see here with Boyle, actually, even in that craziness, Boyle hasn't even gotten started yet. And I only want to consider this range and look at a 382 and say, okay, folks, our next leg, if natural gas is going to do what I think it's going to do, this Boyle vehicle will at least reach for that 382 at 295. So I like this. It is going to be volatile, and we're going to get a pullback real soon that maybe by next week, for those that didn't get in, you're going to get your chance. Let it come down. And then we already see some of the signs. I mean, on the 4-hour chart, look at what we have here. All of these formations on the way up is just massive, complex structure here. And that's going to come down, and we're really close. We're going to hit the 50 and finish at the 50 level today. And what that will do on the 4-hour chart, probably by, I don't know, Tuesday, or I would even look Wednesday is Wednesday is the natural gas numbers day. So maybe we have a pullback into Wednesday, but then that should set us up where then we get the return. And the next leg is the leg that if you're not on, you want to be on. I think this next leg, maybe we come as low as 60 or 59, fill the gap, and then we may go to triple digits. Boyle, maybe it's not the best vehicle, but I think it's probably for what this situation calls for. It's a fantastic ETF vehicle without having to play with the futures. Here's UNG. This is one we did highlight, and it's run nicely. We were looking for as high as $20, and this was another dead ETF for a long time. Okay, doesn't look like much in comparison to the history, but here you go. Now you look at the total history there of UNG. Back here all the way in 2008, 2009, it was a mad rush up to $15 a contract on nat gas. All right, UNG setting up to actually show us that there's a major harmonic bottom in. And we want to pay attention to this larger development of this crab. It's taken years, but that's okay because we do have triggers. Even though we did start to stabilize at the pattern completion point, okay, the larger triggers that we saw and the smaller time frames in other vehicles that I've outlined before, on the spot price at around 240 for UNG. We had some HSI triggers on the weekly. I think monthly too was even better, down around $9 or $10. We traded 20, and I, much like the Boyle and much like a lot of these others, look, get natural gas on your radar. That's only the first thrust that we saw this past month. And on UNG, I target $56, $57 if we see a crisis kind of situation develop. So let's keep an eye on that. There's a lot of things that are shaping up like that. Here's crude oil. Again, crude oil, it's a good December contract on the weekly. Patterns everywhere, folks. Patterns everywhere, and patterns on long-term time frames. This is December contract. I show the December contract because the continuous contract got skewed when it went negative. So it's better to look at, say, a specific December or June. Pretty good for crude oil. January is not bad. And this for crude oil is a crab pattern. We've been aware of that. And I'm looking for this eventual test to the hop at 79.70. We've been going through a pause. We talked about that. The fact that we're back-to-back pattern to crab pattern really gives me a good idea of what this upside potential is. The 79 objective of the hop still needs some kind of confirmation. And again, we have another complex reading on our amplified RSI. It's coming down right there. Okay, went to the minimum, almost got to the oversold, but not quite, but that's all right. Red line has gone on right there, your red line. What does that mean? That means the start of the return for the indicator is right there. And that is the other reason why we're seeing crude oil and energy come back up, retest. Now, are we going to just do a nominal thing here and then go down? Or are we going to bust through? Because these prior readings were quite significant on, you go long-term basis. Okay, a lot of what has happened coming off of, I mean, I personally think that what happened back in 2020 and with that capitulation on the continuous contract to the negative level was a historic capitulation. And that on a long-term basis versus what we have now, we're going to see whether or not it's going to just blast on through, or we do a normal hop test, we come off, and we grind more and more. Natural gas is kind of showing me that things are, out of control. And I definitely am wanting to respect the pattern here. I think we still got to go up. Natural gas has gone a long ways. A lot of our other energy vehicles have gone quite a bit of ways. But I will wait for those pullbacks and keep strategizing. Some of the vehicles, some of the stuff for energy that we have been looking at, which are stuff like this Marathon Oil is one of them. And we've had a number of different patterns here. I haven't mentioned this in a while, but several of these, a lot of long-term members know that we've been in that one forever, looking for up to $15, and this looks better even on your monthly basis. You get the picture here that all of crude oil just been crushed, and this rebound, even in you go be as conservative as possible, could retest a lot of the bearish patterns. Still be in a bear market, but you have a ways to go until you complete that. For Marathon, come back and retest that ABCD at $22. Here's another one, ExxonMobil. Big patterns. Look at that bat pattern. Okay, huge bat pattern. We have an HSI right here. Looks like a reaction. Are we going to come back for a retest? Need to watch that one. I mean, that has come off. XLE. Done the initial reaction. There's another one. Okay, and these are monthly charts, folks. Monthly. There's XLE. Is that going to continue? This is actually a type 2 because check it out. There's your type 1 reaction. And XLE is probably a good one to go to for an overall consensus move. There's your type 2 retest. And now what are we going to do? Because above 57.80, above 58, XLE really should start to run. It needs more time. But I'm watching these carefully. Essentially, you're seeing a lot of these energy stocks and a lot of these positions come together where they're hitting their target twos or they're hitting their expected levels. Once they hit them, are they going to blast through? I mean, are we going to see more of what we saw in natural gas or crude oil start to take off? If you do, we know we've got something bigger. If we just see a nice steady rally up to these levels, all right, we'll pull it. So I absolutely think it's, we're early development stages on a lot of this stuff where the next leg, these have all woken up. Natural gas woke up. It's back in play after years. It's a great market, and it's one of the biggest energy markets there is. So well, don't want to lose sight of what's going on. Really quick, let's jump over to crypto land, right? Crypto land, Bitcoin. What's going on? What are we doing? Where's stock to flow? Where are all these guys? What's going to happen? Okay, because Bitcoin has been gave us that reactive move. We have been talking about this Bitcoin situation, getting that trigger at the end of July, and I think carefully assessing what's happening as a reactive move off of 30. Hold on, let me not hit that. But here it is. And here's something else. For those that are not with my software, I please encourage you access the free trial. And just here, I wanted to show you. Go to harmonictrader.com, okay, and hit the register now if you're not a basic member, because that will show you how to log in and how to get access to all the platforms. You can try them all if you want. You can try, the Pro. You can try the Trading View. But do get this and spend the 2 weeks we give you to go through and check it on longer term time frames than say just a daily. I think a lot of people are stuck into certain time frames, maybe a daily or 1 hour or something where look at a 16 hour, look at an 8 hour, look at a 36-hour chart to give a little bit more, a little bit longer term hourly perspective. I'm finding we're getting better structure. It gives you a better insight than just the daily. I mean, there's a 16-hour chart for Bitcoin, and we've got real nice back-to-back patterns. Actually, take a look. We had this big, what was that? There was a deep crab down there at 29,786, but we had a smaller Gartley. Remember what I was saying, when we get two auto-generated patterns, especially a smaller auto-generated pattern in the PRZ, that acts like a trigger, pattern within a pattern. Now we have a bearish pattern on the 16-hour chart, but let's walk it through. Because the whole time with Bitcoin, we were talking about looking for a reactive move. 44,000 was minimum, 47 was kind of our top range, as high as 52. And look, I'll show you that in a second of the weekly retracement. But on this hourly chart, we did have another deep crab pattern. Just all you need to think about is, look, we had a sharp 1618 extension off the last ditch down. So how do we handle that? Well, we're always looking first reaction, second reversal. Here's the reaction. Now, depending on our data feed, okay, some of the data feeds did hit that 41,941 type 1 target. That's a type 1 reaction all over it. Other feeds, depending on who you were, let me go like Coinbase. Yeah, see, Coinbase didn't get it, but you see how the levels are slightly different. Target 1 on Coinbase was 41,791. That is just because of the data. These are unregulated exchanges, so you're going to have slightly different readings. That's, again, I've mentioned this many times. It's important to go through 2 or 3 data feeds. You guys see I have like 8. And I do like to go through because I'll see things maybe on a perpetual futures contract that I don't see in like a smaller exchange. But the consensus reading is that we are in a reaction here off of this crab pattern. Are we going to come all the way back and retest this 30K again? No, I don't think so. And I'll go why and what I'm looking for here. Essentially, on the longer term basis, I want to see some kind of trigger develop, HSI trigger in this area. if it's 44 or it's 42 or it's 47, I'm looking for something to develop. And it's looks like to me that we just need time. Now, uh, that's okay. And I'm not, a lot of people are hyped on Bitcoin and as a barometer for the market, but there's a lot of reasons why this would go sideways for a few more weeks without it being much concern. So let's go to the weekly. And this is all structural. Definitely we are pivoting. Oh, look at that. There's the big bat pattern. Auto-generated bat patterns. Remember that? That's the weekly. I would love us to see some kind of bullish pattern like that develop on the weekly down the line. But for right now, what we want to do is go off the big swing retracements. And essentially, what happened a couple weeks ago was just that 618. And we're just at a 618 reaction here to there. There's your 618. And I've been saying this for a while. That's a B point. What kind of a B point? Are we going to get a deep pullback and then just get like maybe a Gartley? Up to the 886 or something with an ABCD? Or is this a crab? And I'm more of the opinion that this is a crab pattern taking shape. And I mentioned this before, but I want to stick with this. We do know it's going to take time. Remember, the pivot on the weekly was 1 bar. And so if we're talking about a W structure, a 1 bar move does not constitute a BC leg. We need to see several legs. As many of you know, all patterns need to have a minimum 30 bar construction, must have 30 bars. So if this is our X point, then let's go project 30 bars forward. Okay, about 7 months. And our peak was early March. Late March, early April. So 30 weeks to the right would get us into November. Would look like something like this. There's November, something like that. If we were going to get it and get it like this. So maybe we do a few weeks sideways here in the 40s and we get a C point. Remember, minimum 382 of a B point. Your C point has to be a minimum 382, and that was already tested. So from a price level, it's okay. That's, it hit the number, but we just need to put some time in. We need to do some work on this. I'm not really too concerned about that. We don't have, look at see if we go to our indicators, here's amplified RSI. And just want to show, again, this large reading. We had an extreme overbought reading, but that was strength. That pushed in on a weekly basis, gave you some extreme high readings that took out all of these prior highs. And this is something that's important that maybe I don't mention it enough, but you want to see these readings when they go overbought or oversold. If you're going to get an eventual trend continuation, you want to see that prior extreme reading bust through, go into new high territory. It tells you there's a lot of strength behind that move. Other thing about this is it's another M formation. Okay, your M really took shape like this. And this is, again, the complex structure in RSI. And it matters because it's usually a sign of consolidation. We expect to pull back usually to about that 50 level, which is right there. And it looks something like that. And then we start to anticipate the return move, which we started at the end of July. The indicator started it a couple weeks earlier. And I would not look for that completion until we get fully test and complete that overbought condition. So several pieces here that I'm putting together on a long-term basis to get to this being a crab of a C point. And then the final part, something that would make sense to me, something I've seen a whole lot happen on major markets that eventually have a completion, is an all-time ABCD, which is again all lining up around 87, 90,000. So it's definitely lining up where, in my opinion, if it was going to go lower, it would have happened back in July, and we would still be going lower. But it's not. We're in serious construction phase. Okay, that's good. We want to see that. And we have a lot of other things that, if we project basic harmonic measurements, 1618s, we include 30-day or 30-bar cycles, we see that this does need more time, and the construction is pointing higher. That's Bitcoin. Okay? And I think we're seeing Bitcoin become a slower creature than, say, Ethereum. And Ethereum, having just fell shy of its 886, is probably doing the same thing, but at a higher level. It's probably doing our nominal deep correction. And I do think that Ethereum will eventually give us the deep crab. We go, and this will be a B point. We didn't hit the 886, which was what our target was all along, but it still qualifies as a B point. And again, looking like this. B point, come down. Remember, C point has to be at a 382. For that to be any kind of valid harmonic structure, C point is at a 382. Your 382 on Ethereum is basically 3150, 3140. That sets up 1618 minimum advance, for the big move, 6200, something like that. Again, it looks scary. You had a big rush and no follow through, but that's okay because it's coming at a point where the potential for that being a B point, for this to take a W formation, actually is even better. It's really strange, but a lot of times we will target. I'll have targets that fall just shy, like an 886. It falls just shy, and then just does a little nominal correction. And in most cases, when that happens, I wait for the number to get hit. And that's what I think has to happen here. I think that kind of behavior does become a B point that goes and extends. Yeah, that's right. Mitch says a great point. The one thing that I talk about in the classifications of M and W formations has always been the B point. The B point is absolutely the key metric, the key formation in the M and W structure where all other measurements are dictated. So if the B point's at an 886 and we get the W formation, and that B point is plus minus 3%, which it is, that's an acceptable tolerance. That's something no one's really mentioned until really I was differentiating M's and W's, because we have to reach a make or break point of distinguishing apples and oranges. A lot of times, if the B point was at a 786, as most of you know, let's say the B point was a 786, which is here, right there, and was 81 to 75%. Well, then that's only a butterfly structure, and we look for that at a 127, a much lower target. That's why it's so critical. And the B point, again, that tolerance can be plus minus 3% to qualify it. So for those that I know a lot of people like to measure by hand and draw it out by hand, use that, because it's going to help you to differentiate quickly on the fly. Couple more. The other thing, the development that I think is we need to pay attention to of where the action's going to be is it's probably in the new ones that have been running. And so let's pop up Solana because that thing has pulled back. I think could be a buy down here. There's your weekly. Remarkable, right? Can we get one weekly negative candle? Sure. And do a pause here? Yep. But take a look on, let's bring this up. What do we have here on the dailies? Big M-shaped complex structure. M, like that, coming all the way down, almost ready to get oversold. And look, your red line has gone on. So this is a real easy way, especially with these high flyers, to let them do their pullback. That's a great move. But I'll tell you what, when this comes back, stabilizes, the next leg, and we're going to want to catch that because you'll have a lot of corrective force that's happening right now after a huge run. But the retest move frequently, even if it doesn't break out, can be real strong, sharp, minimum 886 retest from down in here around 135, 140 back to 200. That's the kind of general anticipation I'm looking for based off of this complex formation. But let's go to 4 hour because we do want to trigger. We want some patterns and we want HSI. Give me something actionable down here. Okay, on the 4 hour, nothing really much. On the 1 hour, there you go. So the 1 hour, here you go. And this is Solana. This is for you guys. I think it could, Alec. How you doing, Alec, by the way? Alex just saying, could it pull a BNB, a Binance, where it goes to 400 or 500? I think it could. Because a part of this group of second-tier crypto, a lot of these are 5-10 billion wanting to go to 30 or 50 billion. It's going to be tough to get Cardano to go from 60 billion to 300 billion, but something like Solana or Cosmos or one of these other ones, Algo, to get those 5-10 billion to 30, that's a triple. A lot easier to get that money flow moving it than, say, Bitcoin. Here we go with Solana, folks, and this is why I'm looking at this. Real nice deep crab pattern, and it's a type 2. What does that mean? Well, we had our first reaction, which we anticipate to target 1, and we know the big moves come on target 2 retest. We're at the hop, but where's confirmation? It's over here, HSI, and we have formed another small pattern. What have we seen those last several examples, back-to-back patterns? Those are particularly good. Any price after all-time high, do people use fib calculations as a possible next high? One of the things that I look for, it's a good, Solana is a good example. The question is, when you go ballistic like Solana did, how can you throw up moves? Like when you exceed your measured range. And here's Solana. We had talked about this. It was one of a handful. It's not like I was just isolating Solana, but this was one where we had the pullback, and it took the W shape, and we were looking for a 1618. But when it hits it, it blows right through. And we'll look at higher scale numbers, 224, 2618, 314, and look at that as it, kind of follow it, expect it to continue. But 3618 is the top end of the scale that I use. And I suggest that everyone kind of respect that because it's rare to see a move like this. And it could be a 5-minute time frame or it could be a daily, weekly like this. You get to the 3618, it's almost like you have to go through a natural 382 reaction. Something like that is kind of the thought process behind it. Nothing goes in one direction forever. But that's how to think about it is when you're above a 3618, you're in no man's land. And it's just, you have to be careful because that thing could inflect on you and have a sharp pullback. And your 382 on Solana off that last low is 138. So that's, we got a lot of things here in Solana on the weekly and even the shorter time frame that says let's look for reaction. Maybe it's just a reaction to 180, but we're in good reactive territory. What are the odds for the bullish Gartley case on the weekly chart for, I guess you're talking Bitcoin at 16,000? Okay, I think let's really quick, let's dial it back because it's about Bitcoin. So I think what you're saying is, could we get an M formation where if this is the top, could it be right there? Like this? And this was something that, I think when we were looking at this earlier in the year, I was not really too keen on this being any kind of M formation. Why? Because the first place I always look is the B point. The B point is going to tell you about the structure. And this B point's like a 67% off of that last low. That's not a Gartley. It exceeds the 3% tolerance. You're sitting there. There you go. Let me fix this. There, let's put the magnet on. And let's get exact. Maybe it is 618 off of that. Bring that up. There's your 618. Maybe I was looking at this all the time. Because if you go off of that low of the last bat, sure. Could you get that? Well, your Gartley has to be at a 786. Like that. All right, so I guess that's what you're talking about. It would be more like 17,000. But here's the thing about the Gartley. The Gartley needs an ABCD. You can have a 618, 786 combination, but the key really is to have these segments A to B. Okay, and then you should have a CD leg come down. And that's probably where you come up with your 16K. That's more like 14K. The possibility if it was to drop right off of here, of course. Yeah, but if you look at our indicators, and this is why we look at indicators, is why we look at stuff like RSI. The weekly. We need to register an overbought reading on amplified RSI. We do have something on the weekly that triggered. I'm definitely watching a lot of this. Let me look at where's Binance. Compare that with Binance. There's a Wanda. That's Bitstamp. There's Coinbase. Let's look at the Coinbase. If it's going to happen, folks, it would have to roll over literally in the next, 7, 8 sessions where this thing breaks down. But here is Coinbase. It looks like this. That would be your X point. There's A. B's down here. C's back up. Assuming that would be the peak. And you'd have to come immediately down for a Gartley. We don't have any other bearish readings up here, and in fact, I do think that the 5.0, this 618 area, has been trying to get violated. That's why I'm still looking for another leg higher. I don't have any bearish pattern up here at 60,000, that would suggest that this is, if I had a big crab pattern or I had something on the weekly that was outrageous, yeah. But we're just not there yet. I will be open to both possibilities. I definitely think that it's running out of time, and we should consider that, where this whole crypto run, we should see this then be realized in the next 4 months. Certainly by January, if Bitcoin's going to make the run or attempt to make the run to 100,000, it's got to do it now. We don't roll over. And if we roll over, we'll know pretty soon. Like if you go under 42,000, okay, scenario's off, but it's not going to take much. One or two more, guys. Been a great session, and I'm now getting one of my famous Miami mini hurricanes during the afternoon. So I might bet you I lose connection. If not, I'll keep going a few more minutes. I did want to show one or two more things that I think, I'm certainly looking at. I mentioned Cosmos, and that one has been another one that has made a lot of progress recently, as high as 40. Take a look. Clearly overextended. What I'm looking for here is pullback and go again. Now, what I want to see by Sunday, if that comes out on Cosmos, that could be it for now. It's been a huge run. Like Solana is probably due for a pullback. But these are in the category where, hey, at least they went to new highs. They're showing you a bit more than some of these others that if we're going to keep running into the end of the year, I'd rather be looking at these that have done progress in the last couple of months than others that are floundering. Something that's floundering is like, here's one, Band. I don't even know what that is. I mean, this is one of those that did a full 886 pullback on the correction this summer. So we're seeing certain ones really assert themselves. Others, no. It's pretty much just a grind, and I want to only focus on those that are really starting to move. Here's another one that I think is this CELO, CGLD, USD. Had a big, rush up, crazy scam wick. But notice how on this correction pullback, okay, no follow through to the downside. Forget that scam wick, but I kind of like the build here. That this is, taking shape where, go on the weekly, you're breaking out. You held the summer's low, and it's continuing to progress higher. Nothing screaming at the moment, but I'm looking at these second and third tier cryptos. Band is a competitor Chainlink on the Oracle and DeFi. So should we be paying attention to it? Because if I'm looking at the price action, and this is definitely something with that crypto faces, is you could have great fundamentals, but if we don't have the chart set up, or if it's not in a position to go, we're going to be waiting through a lot of time. I mean, Bitcoin has showed that to us all year long. Beyond these reactions that I'm seeing, we're not seeing a lot of continuation. So definitely important to be aware of what's going out. You wouldn't touch gold-backed crypto projects. It's a waste of time. Yeah, I don't know. Guys, I don't know these projects as well as some of you do. Others of you understand a lot of these smaller cryptos, and if they're good projects, great. I still say wait for your opportunities to get signals. You're going to get them. You're going to get them. Here, let me leave you. Here's one more. here's Dash, okay? Dash was one. A guy that I follow, Greg Manarino, does a great daily blog, a nice rant every day. He was on this Dash, and he caught a huge move on it, and he stayed with it. And he's going to continue to buy and hold these. I think Dash is representative of a lot of these that have done those huge moves, and then they give you your corrective patterns that lead to the larger leg. And so that's, put that in your hat for as an example of what to be looking for on pullbacks. And even on Dash, we have our first reaction, and let's have this come back, around 190, 180, maybe as low as the hop at 165, but we're looking for Dash to come down lower, and that's the spot. I mean, for Dash to come into this 180, 170 level would be the spot to get a target 2 move for that larger move. A lot of these are definitely coming together like that, and I want to pay attention to these secondary tests. We had that correction early September. Now you're seeing the retest of that low. So again, I think it's going to take a little bit of time, but once this is done, once we come back and retest these, we're going to be in a position to move. So I don't think it's over. I just think it's getting more peculiar in where you want to be. So that's about it I have for today. Nice session. Now it's getting crazy out there. But I'll leave it there. We'll be back next Friday. And folks, if you're not with Harmonic Trader, go to harmonictrader.com. Sign up as a basic member, and then just click the basic members page. That will show you how to get set up with the software and all of our versions. You can get the trading view and get all the books and watch the webinars. All of that before you subscribe, please, because then it's so much easier for me to help you. The basics are all there, but you have to be willing to do the study and the research yourself. And I'll give you the tools for free to get you started. Beyond that, you can email me with questions. Oh, yeah. Well, thanks, everybody. Had a great one. We'll see you next Friday. Some new tunes, new ideas, and a new week behind us. Have a great